swift.
Whew. And breathe, exhale. What a ride that has been. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, and South Africa have lit up the Men's Cricket World Cup. The highest score at the tournament, 3 centuries in that innings, and they've blasted Sri Lanka's bowlers all over the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi. I've got with me Dale Steyn. Dale, your immediate thoughts on that innings?
Yeah, I don't know where to start actually. I'm so happy I'm retired and I don't have to be a bowler anymore. Yeah, that was pretty phenomenal. I mean, the average score at in Delhi is, I think, 209.
Yeah,
call it 210. South Africa scored more than double that. So I can't quite tell if it's fantastic batting, bad bowling. I'm just kind of blown away right now. And at the end of the day, when 3 guys get 100 in 50 overs and a team puts up a total of over 420, that is a pretty phenomenal effort.
Yeah, and Farveez, immediately let's come to you and get your thoughts. I mean, what would it feel like being a Sri Lankan bowler right now?
Yeah, I mean, as Dale said, even I'm happy that I'm retired, not going out there bowling to the South African batting lineup, though they are already batting. I think, overall, good batting. The pitch is fantastic. I mean, it's caught me by surprise how good the pitch is at the Delhi Stadium. It looks really good, bounces even. And I just felt, when Sri Lanka took that wicket of Bavuma, in the initial stage, that period, Sri Lanka looked a bit threatening. But apart from that, once that ball lost the hardness and the shine, it was just, South African batters taking over, and they took the right options. What was good was watching is not about slugging. It was proper cricketing strokes. Yes, the grounds, is not the biggest, but those sixers would have gone for a 6 in any ground in the world. So I think more than bad bowling, I think it's very good batting by the South African top order.
Yeah, exactly. And I think of the 3 centurions, the one that we normally talk about as the most technically sound, the most textbook player is Aiden Markram. And Aiden Markram went from a 34-ball 50 to a 49-ball 100. It took him just 15 balls to double that score. And ordinarily you might think there's the guy slogging, but as Farveez was saying, that's not what he was doing out there. They'll talk us through his innings, which came after the other 200s. The platform was laid and he just worked through the gears.
Yeah, first 50 was really good. He's kind of came in as a wicket fell. Quinny got 100 and he had to come out there. And it often happens with batters. They get 100 and all of a sudden they see the ball from this size to beach ball size, and then they think they can smack everything. And they often get out. And Aiden had to come in a tricky period there where there was still a lot of time left in the game. So he managed to get his way to that 50 or 30-odd balls. And then after that, it wasn't like he played any slogs. He played good cricket shots. And it just shows you what a good wicket this actually is. He's played genuinely good cricket shots, and the ball travelled a mile. If they bowled it short, he played the pull. If they overpitched, he hit it for 6 or for 4 back over extra cover, over long off. Just good cricket shots. So this wicket is a really good wicket for batting, but probably, I would say probably South Africa scored too much. It's way above par. But still, phenomenal batting at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then let's just go back to the 200s that preceded Aiden's, because the other players are so contrasting to him. I mean, we know Aiden Markram's strong on the offside and the cover drive, and then we saw Quinny with a lot of flicks and pulls and that kind of thing. And Rassie van der Dussen, who I hope doesn't get forgotten in all of this, because his innings was equally spectacular. How would you describe those other 200s other than Aiden's?
I mean, both just great. So you could see the celebration that Quinny had, and it shows you how much it means to him. That was a great knock. And then Rassie also is just a steady batter. I think this has taken his average up to almost 60 potentially, The guy he goes unnoticed around the world, and yet every time he comes out in white ball cricket, he puts on a big score. And today he scored it relatively quickly too. So did Quinny. In terms of what Aiden did, it was the innings was slow, but both fantastic hundreds. And I feel just for Temba, the only man that didn't make double figures today on this wicket. But being captain, I think he'll be very excited with his batters and his team getting up to that magic total of 428.
Yeah, and Farveez, Dale's talking about Temba getting out early. You spoke about it a little bit earlier as well. I guess that would have been Sri Lanka's perhaps one moment where they thought, okay, we might be able to get something over South Africa. In general, I suppose it wouldn't be unfair to call the bowling a little bit sloppy and maybe a bit too full at times. But did you feel as though there was something in particular they were doing really, really wrong? Or was it just South Africa batting exceptionally well?
I think probably the second choice, South Africa batting really well, because some of the options taken by the fast bowlers especially was right. I mean, we spoke about at Delhi, you take the pace off as soon as the ball loses the hardness and the shine. That's exactly what all the cricks did. And inexperience has showed for Matish and Dilshan Manus come in. Those guys hardly have played much for national team. They're just making their way in. And Kashun Raditya, on the other hand, we've seen this in the past. He goes for plenty of runs in the death overs. That's something that he has been struggling lately. With the new ball, he's quite steady. He swings the ball, hits a good length and line. But as soon as death overs comes in, that's where he struggles. So I reckon where they went wrong, I think more consistent back of the length in India is very, very important. Either it's been too full or it's been too short. This in-between length, that hard length, I don't think Sri Lanka, if you take the percentage, it'll be very low, that hard length for the batters. So I think that's where Sri Lanka lacked a little bit, being consistent with their lengths.
Dale, you actually spoke about that. You were saying earlier that you didn't see a lot of Yorkers towards the end. Was it too much of that in-between length? Would you agree with Farveez?
Yeah, I mean, this game is a game of percentages, really. And it's like, was it South Africa 50% batting better? And was it Sri Lanka 50% bowling badly? Now, I don't think they bowled particularly badly. Their plans were pretty good. But the problem is that they probably bowled one bad ball and over. And I cast my mind back to it, and I think I can remember Quinny playing like a sweep of Rajitha that went for 4, that was down the leg side. A little bit better control, and you winning those small moments. Those percentages, they all add up at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, they all cost probably, for Sri Lanka today, probably cost 100 runs. And that's where you win and lose games. You think on this wicket, it's a good wicket, 350 is a score, that is a big score, but you can chase that. But when you get those percentages wrong, and you get the odd one that goes down leg, 5 wides, down the leg side, little things like that, it all adds up. Teams go on to score 420, and then the game is it's out of your reach, It's just out of your reach. And probably at the back end, they could have bowled more Yorkers, but who knows? Maybe that would have travelled just as far. It is a tough game at the end of the day.
As you say, I mean, 137 runs in those last 10 overs, and a bit of inexperience showing, as Farveez was saying. Farveez, if we go to the selection, would you have picked Lahiru Kumara for the experience value? I mean, obviously they're missing players through injury, and there's not much they can do there, but what could they have done other than field this 11?
I think they picked their best 11. Lahiru Kumara, for me, in the last couple of practice games, haven't had the impact what we all expected from Lahiru Kumara. So I expected him to be probably with the 4th choice when it comes to the fast bowling department. So I think these 3, at the moment, with the resources what available for Sri Lanka, is the best 3 going forward. But just that, it's South Africa's day, basically. The good batting pitch, once you just pick up 1 wicket in the first 10 overs, I mean, in Delhi, you ask for trouble most of the time when the conditions are good for batting. So I reckon going forward, the factor Mahesh Theekshana is going to be very important. We spoke about it before the game. He's a bowler who could bowl with the new ball, bowl in the middle overs, and bowl in the death overs as well. So he's been dearly missed for Sri Lanka. And, the next game is in another, 2 days' time. So I'm pretty sure that Sri Lankan think tank would be asking the medical department to get the boys fit as possible to play that Pakistan game.
So, Farveez, you're already talking as though the day's over and the game's over, and it's really only at the halfway stage. But can we read from what you're saying that you think this would be a very, very difficult, if not entirely not possible, to chase?
I mean, let me put it this way: either it'll end too soon, or it'll go to the wire. That's what's going to happen. The batsmen know it's a massive score to chase down. There's nothing to fear. Go out there and pick your targets, pick your areas, and go for it. Because in the end of the day, there's no point just hanging around. Just go out there and attack the South African quicks. I feel with the new ball, it might swing a little bit with two balls from the either end. It might swing a bit, probably the first 6 overs, and then the ball will skid onto the bat much better. And remember, dew will take its part around 8:30, 8 o'clock. Around that time, that'll be about 30th over onwards. So I reckon if Sri Lanka can get a good start, I wouldn't say it's out of their reach, but it's a huge steep mountain to climb. But for the batters, it's ideal situation. Go out there, no fear, and put the pressure back on the bowlers.
And Dale, yourself as a bowler, I mean, with this amount of runs to defend, you'd probably go out there feeling quite comfortable. And we've spoken about the South African attack and maybe the spotlight that will be on them, given that for a change, they're considered the weaker suit from the 11. Do you feel this is enough? That seems like a silly question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's enough, but I think it's not a game where you can just take your foot off the pedal, where you can just, this is a long competition and everyone's got eyes on you right now. They want to know what you're going to do. They want to know how you're going to go about your business. And South Africa can't just afford to run out there and just think, oh, we got 400 and something, it's fine, we'll just go through it and we'll get the job done. There still needs to be good plans in place. There needs to be smart field placements and clever bowling. And I can't even think of the word right now that I need, but just good bowling really at the end of the day. Discipline bowling is exactly what I wanted to say. If you just run in and you think things are going to happen for you, then I agree, this game could go all the way down to the wire. But pressure and run rate is going to be Sri Lanka's biggest problem right now. They're going to be looking at that scoreboard and they're going to go, we need to get it 8, 9s or whatever it is, and that's how they're going to lose wickets. So it's one of those games that when you've played a lot of cricket, you feel it could go to the wire or they could get bowled out for 130. You know, it's just one of those games. But I'm interested to see the way that South Africa go out and bowl, because if they go out there and they bowl and they just ease into it, Sri Lanka could easily score 360, 380, potentially even 400 without even trying. So it's all on South Africa right now and the pressure that they can apply, and then Sri Lanka have to answer that.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I mean, we've seen teams chasing quickly. New Zealand did it inside of 37 overs, Bangladesh inside 35. So is net run rate going to be something that plays into South Africa's minds? Because we know that could end up being a calculation towards the end of the tournament.
I think this competition is a long way from the semi-finals. It might be in your thoughts, but
or should
obviously
it be in your thoughts?
It should be in your thoughts, maybe in the shorter format. But right now, with the longer format, I think you just want to get the win. I think that's the most important thing right now. But with 428, you kind of feel like if there's a moment to put your foot on the jugular and kill the game, then you do that. And that's when you really worry about that. But for now, you just run in and you deal with it as though you've only scored 300 or 250 or something like that, and put Sri Lanka under pressure. And then that run rate will kind of take care of itself.
Yeah, so job to do before thinking about anything else. Dale and Farveez, if we had to just take your final predictions before we go into that chase, Farveez?
Either way, it'll either finish before the 35th over, or else it'll go down and Sri Lanka probably will end up in the losing side, but still will put up a good fight.
Keeping it real there from Farveez and from you, Dale.
Yeah, I think South Africa will win, but I think Sri Lanka will get close to 300. I potentially even score like 320 or something like that. Someone's going to get a big 100 for Sri Lanka tonight to kickstart their tournament, but I think they'll still fall way short of this total.
Yeah, lots of runs on offer down in Delhi, where we've seen South Africa score the highest total at World Cups. And we'll be back with you at the end of the match to recap everything that's happened. It's been an exciting day at the World Cup so far here on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday. We'll catch up with you in a couple of hours.
Stunning looks, then swift,